there's a bunch of complicated little nuances, but all you really got to know is that it's the Horde and it's the Alliance. The Alliance are like the clean cut, like pretty boys, and they have like a king that's been the king for a long time, and they've kind of fucked over the Horde in the past. But and the orcs or the humans are their main race, and the main city is Stormwind. The Horde is kind of the misfits, kind of like a ragtag crew of just like, you know, scrounged together, different groups and factions. They're more loosely together. They're not as united as the Alliance is. And they are constantly like having leaders that are assholes and fucking stuff up. They've had good leaders, they've had bad leaders. And they just kind of like, you know, it's just Horde and the Alliance, and then they'll fight each other one expansion because they'll have some sort of disagreement over something stupid. Somebody will get somebody killed or just some miscommunication, and then the next expansion, some outside threat will come in, and they got to kill it. So, and then sometimes they unify to kill that outside threat. Sometimes they kind of do it on their own terms, and that's really all it is. It's just that over and over again. So, yeah. Yes, the Alliance is very civilized and structured, and the Horde is very, like, loose and, like, kind of feral, you know? Yeah, for sure. I mean, if it weren't for magic, I think the Horde would get their ass stomped in just because of how unorganized they are. But you know, magic. So that kind of, you can use that excuse to kind of get it, you know, even the score there a little bit. But yeah, the Alliance has like really nice, well-structured cities, well-organized, everything. And the Horde is just kind of like aggressive. But most people I know play the Horde because it's cooler. They think it's cooler. They think the Alliance is lame. I like the Alliance's cities better. I think the problem is that they, back in the day, you had 3 cities for each, for the Horde and for the Alliance. And you had like the Dwarf City, the Human City, and the Night Elf City for the Alliance. And then for the Horde, you had the Undead City, the Orc City, which is Orgrimmar, and then Tauren City. And the Tauren City is pretty, and it's like on hills and stuff. And the Undead City is well designed, in my opinion. But then they, like, along the way, they just kind of chose Orgrimmar and Stormwind as the main cities. And they put all the new shit that you need to get around in those cities. So you can't really, they made the other ones less viable to hang out in. So it kind of fucked up those options. If someone starts playing today, first time MMO player, how long does it take to reach max level? Well, they have tried to make that much easier. So back in the day, it used to take a long time. Like when I started, it took a long time, like months. Maybe a month of playing it casually. Now, if you actually level a character, it could take a couple weeks maybe if you play it regularly. But they do a thing now where if you buy the game and you buy the new expansion especially, you get a boost. So you can literally boost a character to max level. So not to the level of the new expansion's max level. So every time a new expansion comes out, they bump the max level up. So they would do it every like every expansion you'd get 5 to 10 extra levels. And they kept doing that until you got up to like, what did we get to? We got to like 110 or something, maybe even more than that. And then they squashed them down back to 60. And then now we're up to 70 again. And then we'll get up to 80 next expansion. So with this boost for this new expansion, you'll get a character that's level 70. And if you pre-order it, you can get a max level character right now at level 70 already. But if you're new to the game, you probably shouldn't do that. You probably just play the game, level it from the beginning, because you start out with like just a handful of moves, and as you progress, you get more and more moves. So it's smarter to start from the beginning so you can learn the class. But it doesn't take too incredibly long. And the most confusing part about it is just kind of knowing where everything is. So like, that part's pretty confusing. Like looking at the map and trying to figure out what the fuck's happening is pretty wild. Like, at least I'm assuming so, because when you look at the map, let me make it real big here. So the game, the original game, is this island, Kalimdor, which is where the Horde is mainly. So this is where Orgrimmar is right here. Right here, Orgrimmar. And Eastern Kingdoms. This is the original game. This is where Ironforge is right up there. This is where Stormwind is right here. Ironforge right here. And those are the two main continents. Everything was on these two main continents. And then the second expansion came out, which was, they went real crazy with it for the second one. They made it an alien planet called Outlands. So there's an alien planet called Outlands. And then this was the second expansion. It's very, very much alien, very different than the original game was. But then they went back to here and they made another island up north called Northrend. This was Wrath of the Lich King. So this is a third expansion. More shit, more regular looking stuff. And for the third expansion, they were like, let's mix it up more. The game's been out for a while. Let's do a refresh. So they made up a story, an excuse to make everything like refresh all the old, continents and make them look nicer. So they had the Cataclysm, so everything fucked up, and there was like a big shake-up, and they kind of made everything look new again. But then they also added new shit. So there's this big twisty maelstrom in the middle here, and you can go into that, and there's zones here and shit, but then there was also just random new zones within the actual world that they added on to. And then what happened was, then they got kind of even more wacky with it, and they made the second expansion that was Outlands. They made another version of that called Draenor that is the past version of this. And that is, like, this got corrupted with, like, evil magic and made it all fucked up looking. This is before it got all fucked up. So this is the same world as that, but in the past. So that's confusing. And and then then they added pandas. Added Pandaria, which is Panda Land. This is the land of the panda peoples. So it's like Kung Fu Panda. But it's actually pretty cool. I liked it. Sinner didn't like it. I thought it was cool. It's when they added the class that I'm playing right now, Monks. The map is very large. But see, because of the way that it's set up throughout the expansions, when you go to these different zones, they're in different timelines. Because they're set in the order that they were released. So you meet people at a different point in time than you would meet them. So if you meet the characters in Pandaria, they're not the same ones you would meet in like Stormwind. Like they're at a different point in time. And when you do different dungeons, the dungeons are in different timelines and stuff too. It's all the same timeline for the most part, but it's, earlier or later in the timeline. But let's see. After that, after Panda Land, they did. I don't remember the fucking order of these goddamn expansions. I think, yeah, and then they added. What's the Broken Isles? The Broken Isles was next. Legion. This was just another one. They brought back some of the same characters and shiz. Then they added this one, which is just another